Ladies and gentlemen, filmmakers and moviegoers alike, welcome to this week's episode of Critical Casual. I'm your host, Srekcuf5, and joining me as always is the lovely Dorky Dev. Say hi, Dev.
What's up?
This week has been an interesting week. Why are you putting watch on? You gotta be, I don't know. I wanted to come up with an insult. I couldn't think of anything. Let's move on.
Why would you insult me for having a watch? Fuck you douchebag.
I don't know. It just felt like it. We always open the show with me making a joke at your expense. I just didn't have anything good this time. All right. So, anything you want to say or talk about before we hop in and start talking about today's movies?
Oh, damn it, wrong button. Fuck you. Oh, there we go. Gotta remember where my buttons are.
Oh, all right. 3 buttons.
Well,
Well,
those two are from my stream, but I was gonna add, when have you ever made a good joke? It's gonna be what I did, but I hate the wrong one.
Okay, I was wondering which one was intended for the show, but
Neither of these are intended for the show.
All right, it just felt like you needed it at the moment. I get you.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We're hopping into the show now. Then, this week I have decided to call it the Phoenix Force. Pretty understandable why, I think. Because this week
I have no idea why you did that.
Well, it's because, Dev, this week we're doing X-Men 3, The Last Stand, and Dark Phoenix, where in both of those movies, the Dark Phoenix is a thing. So, yeah.
So the rehash.
Kind of, almost, a little bit, a lot of it. However, so, I don't, as always, we know that I'm not the best when it comes to comic books. I don't know much about comic books.
I do!
Yeah, I know.
And I have a lot of issues!
Yeah, I have a little bit of knowledge of lore, though, and I know character development, and I know storytelling, and I can tell you that when we get to the later movie, we're going to have quite a lot to say.
Yep.
And me and Dev don't even talk about the movies with each other before, but
yep.
Usually we could tell each other's opinions. Last week was a different story, but
yeah.
This week, however,
you just hate monsters.
Yes, I hate monsters, and that hatred of monsters is now boiling down into mutants, and I hate mutants. I'm just kidding.
Fuck you. Mutants are great.
No, mutants are great. And today we're
The Last Stand, though.
Yeah, starting with X-Men 3, X-Men The Last Stand. What do you want to say about this film, Dev?
Actually, I do have something to say.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Nice.
I have
a
Juggernaut, bitch! Button now. And I love it.
It's a fucking meme that made it into a movie, and I love it. Oh. For those of you who don't know, I'm the Juggernaut bitch was way popular before X-Men 3. It was.
No, was it?
It was, actually, yes.
No.
Yes. I'm the Juggernaut bitch was before X-Men 3.
No, it wasn't.
Hold up while we start debating this. Oh, Derek memes, whitelist us, blah blah blah. I have to pause an ad blocker real fast. And here we go. Let's see. The phrase stems from a parody video of the X-Men animated series created in 2005 by Randy Hayes and Alexander Nazaro on My Way Entertainment. And I have a link to the video right here. Hang on, let me pull up. All right, hang on. News. We're hopping into news with a view, so I can show you guys. There you go. The Juggernaut bitch. Here it is. It's a video. The Juggernaut bitch.
Yeah, it's the Juggernaut, bitch! Yeah, Charles, I'll beat the shit out you. Get off me, bitch. Who the fuck are you? What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
You little motherfucker. I'm gonna whoop your ass.
Silly bitch, your weapons cannot harm me. Don't you know who the fuck I am?
And that's about it. I'm gonna stop there. There's 20 seconds of that. When there's 9 minutes of this entire skit. And then in June 2006, a sequel entitled Juggernaut 2 was released. And Juggernaut 3. And then, yeah. Yes. So there you go.
I'm even more disappointed in that line.
You're welcome, Dev. I just dropped internet knowledge on all of you guys. Now let me put this back onto the right screen. There we go. So yeah, X-Men The Last Stand. Dark Phoenix. Do you want to keep that soundbite now that you know it wasn't original?
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Better in the movie.
It's better in the movie, yes. So, let's actually talk about the movie now. It's a continuation of X-Men 2, where, spoilers for X-Men 2, Jean Grey dies. At least, that's what we think. And then, here we are, X-Men 3. And it's okay. There wasn't a lot of really entertaining moments that I saw, but I liked the story dynamic and like what was happening between the sides. I liked. I was a little disappointed that even though it was X-Men stories, it was a little more of a Logan character-driven movie, and this is why Logan and later movies became popular. But
Well, he was already your plot-driving character.
no, I get you. Yeah, but like still, there's other characters I would like to see a little bit more of. All in all, I would say I kind of prefer X-Men The Last Stand at the moment out of like the original 3. X-Men 1 was pretty great. X-Men 3 I thought was funny, and that's why I like it. But X-Men 1's better, definitely.
Wait, you're not even gonna put Last Stand in that list?
It's there. It's
How
a different.
It's the best of the first 3.
I like 1 better than 2.
Why?
Okay. I'll preface this by saying it's been a long time since I've watched it. Like, way before I went to college, since I've watched both of those movies. But at the time, I enjoyed 1 a lot more than 2.
Do you know why?
Probably not.
Because I'll tell you what. X-Men 1, though being better than X-Men Last Stand story-wise, he's nowhere near as good as X-Men 2. X-Men 2 does good story and good action compared to the other one.
Sorry, I'm trying to see if there's a way I can make you louder.
I'm as loud as I can be on my end.
Yeah, it's just a little quiet on my side over here. There you go.
No,
Okay.
I mean, you got Lady Deathstrike. I mean, you got.
I mean, either way, it's not stuff that's important with this movie that we're talking about.
Yeah, no. So Last Stand.
Yeah. I personally liked the story in this one. A little bit. I thought I liked the comparisons that they had to real world situations, and it's something I really like about the X-Men is the fact that they could use real world problems that we commonly face by like racism and bigotry and all that fun stuff. But it I lost where I was going with this, but it didn't quite dive far enough into that for me in this moment. Like,
Well, no, none of like this movie. The other ones go further in depth with their whatever challenge they're talking about. While this one tries to encompass all of them and walks to each edge, being like, ooh, 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 woo! I poked that one.
and it's a lot of spectacle too. It has to do a lot of CG like spectacle. It has to be a lot of storytelling shock because, well, we're not really going to dive too much into spoilers, but they have character deaths, of course, and you'll never know who. But those character deaths could have been much worse. They could, but I think that's what they thought was going to kind of hold the story together and to keep everything going motivational wise, but
They were dumb.
they were dumb, and in the moments they didn't really feel good.
They were unearned.
Mm-hmm.
And the other problem too is it's got the Phoenix plot within another plot. It's trying to do too much at once, and it just doesn't work. So
Yeah, it's just they need to do something with the X-Men. It's making money, and they just couldn't do X-Men Origins Wolverine yet.
I mean, I guess, but it just still doesn't feel earned. I don't think it ever would. So who knows?
So what, Dev? I'm just gonna say we're not really super interested in talking about this movie at the moment.
Well, it's because we have a lot of things to say about it, but saying it would require us talking about the other film too.
Also true, yes. So I feel like at the moment we're going to keep this analysis a little bit briefer than what we would normally do. And I'm just going to throw you some popcorn kernels.
There's still some other things we could talk about.
Well, then what? Let's talk about it. Let's stop feeding around the bush. We're like, yep, this is the thing and stuff. I don't really... Dark Phoenix is cool. That's what's happening with both of us here. So help me start a conversation, Dev.
Well, we could talk about acting, cinematography, some of the
Perfect.
great shots they have in it, like the fact that, like the Golden Gate Bridge shot is one of the coolest shots in all of movies.
There you go.
Honestly.
Perfect. Exactly what I wanted to hear. Yes. Dev.
Well, why do I always have to come up with this shit?
Nothing, because it seems like we wanted to move into Dark Phoenix.
Well, I was just following your lead.
Every time I brought something else up, it was not... Whatever. We're not arguing about this yet. We'll get there later. Cinematography was okay. I really liked how they alluded to what they were going to do with the Golden Gate Bridge, too. But the Golden Gate Bridge is one of the coolest scenes in this movie. I especially like the lines that they use. Like, Magneto's... he's a little bit dialed down in some of his dialogue. It's not as complex. It's a lot more one-liner-y. It's not funny one-liners, but I love the bridge drop when he says his scene. Like, his line when he says what he says. It was good. And it's just the lore behind the X-Men that I know makes what happens in these movies more powerful than it actually is. Because they don't really develop much of anything. Like, there's one fight in a house that happens, which is really cool looking at times, but it's unmotivated. Like, why does it end up at that house? I mean, we know why as an audience, because it's that person's childhood, but in the moment of the film, it's unmotivated to go there. Like, nothing at no point in time is she like, I should go back.
Well, I mean, it's alluded to with the beginning of the film, and as just a place that is familiar for her.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
I get you. But just because it's alluded to in the beginning of the film, they don't really set it up in the middle of the film. And, like, it's just, they throw in this location, and then they just bring us back there. And, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'll say this, where else could we have done that?
I will be honest,
or how could we have built up to it more?
They did it better than the other film, I feel. And the next film that we're going to watch...
Yeah, but it's different. It's a completely different story.
Exactly. But it feels like the way that they got to that location feels better in the second film than in this film. And this is part of the comparison that we'll talk about a little bit more when we get to that film in spoilers. But... this one didn't, it worked, but it was location to location to location with a little bit of things thrown in together to make it a coherent story. The cinematography was good, yes. The acting most of the time was good. I'm trying to think of, because it's hard to say which actors are bad, but when you're standing next to the likes of Sir Ian McKellen and,
Patrick Stewart?
Yeah, it's hard to say who's bad when the majority of the film is them. And it's what they do is amazing
You
stuff.
want to know who's the best cast character in this entire film?
Sure.
Beast.
Really? I would. Yeah. Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer as Beast was one of the best things ever, and it was just underutilized, and I'm sad about it.
Yeah, I'd say so. He was a good Beast, and I especially liked his physique. It was nice. I'm trying to think. Maybe the ones who I thought were a little flat were Halle Berry. At moments, but then again, it wasn't her fault. It was more writing because we know Halle Berry's a good actress. Who was it? The ice guy whose name I'm forgetting at the moment.
Bobby Drake, Iceman.
Yes, Bobby Drake, Iceman. I thought he was a little. Sean Ashmore. I'm sure once again it's a writing problem, but I didn't like his performance compared to the others. There's a little bit of symbolism in this movie with the boy who's important, whose name I can't remember. And I thought his symbolism with him being all white and being like the plain person was a little bit too on the nose.
A little.
There we go. I'm throwing things out there.
My opinion on that is that they just, they needed to be what it was going to be,
Were you
talking about Leech?
Leech? I think that's his name.
Jimmy? Boy?
Yes, Jimmy. The boy.
Yes.
Leech. Yes, he was a little bit too on the nose with the symbolism, but were you at all, I'm just going to randomly switch topics halfway through. Were you at all a little upset that they didn't keep much of the lore with Juggernaut and Xavier?
I mean, yeah. But I think anyone should be.
Mm-hmm. But it keeps his face pretty.
Eh.
I haven't. Okay. Let's see. Anything else you'd like to talk about, Dev? Because I haven't got much else to say.
Well, no, the other things, too, is, this film just suffers from a very discoherent plot.
Mm-hmm.
That's its major problem. If it was able to keep its shit together, it'd be a far better film. And maybe follow one plot or another. And I can talk about more of its issues during our end part, because one of its major issues deals with setup.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a thing the entire franchise has to deal with. So, we could talk about that more during the spoiler section. So, it's just one of those things that's just it just, some of the stuff it tries to pay off, they didn't build up to.
Mm-hmm. I can appreciate that.
So I just saw, not to break our element for just a second, just saw something, and it's relevant to films that we had watched recently. You want to know who's going to be in Cyberpunk 2099?
Who's that?
Keanu Reeves.
Oh, of course. Okay. Man, we could have talked about that in news, Dev. You're ruining the news segment now.
Fair, but I'm sorry. I had to talk about it, bro.
You couldn't save it? I don't care about Keanu Reeves right now. I care about X-Men The Last Stand right now.
Well, X-Men The Last Stand,
And I'm giving you 10 popcorn kernels to tell me about how you feel about X-Men The Last Stand.
It's X-Men The Last Stand. It's not the worst X-Men film.
No.
There's one far worse than this. And we haven't even gone over that, and I don't know if we have any plans to ever go over it.
There's just all the X-Men movies. There's a little bit of poor execution when it comes to them. And
yeah. Well, this one's just lower on that list of execution.
Yeah.
So I gotta put it at a good 6.
A 6?
Yeah, 6.
Okay.
6.5 because it's got some cool action.
That's pretty okay. I was going to put it at a 5.
I knew it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like, I watched it. It was pretty entertaining. I put it on while I was making homemade cinnamon rolls, because homemade cinnamon rolls don't take much effort, believe it or not. So I was like, "Huh, so this is X-Men," while I was kneading dough. It was Yeah, wasn't really captivating. It was just fine. Just fine. Watch
Fair.
if you'd like. If you're watching all the other X-Men's, like if you want to watch them chronologically before they do the reset or with the reset, uh, you do 1, 2, 3. Oh fuck, I don't know. I don't even know how the timeline goes with the films. Neither do
They're
they.
called Origins 1, 2, 3. And you can divert to do Logan real quick, potentially.
What happens with the movie where he's in Japan? Is that a different
That would
timeline?
be that one. Yeah, that'd be that timeline.
Okay.
So it goes Origins 1, 2, 3, Wolverine. You can either from there divert to Logan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, what you could do is you do Days of Future Past, and then Logan. Well, God, this is tough.
I mean, it would make sense if it.
If you're doing the original franchise, you do it that way.
Okay.
If you're going new one, you go First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix.
And where do you throw those together? I'm just kidding.
Figure that out your fucking self.
Fine. I'll figure it out as I transition to our second film, Dark Phoenix. Hello there. Thanks for joining us for the show as we switch over to the our review of Dark Phoenix. I need to pull something up real fast. I just noticed.
Dark Phoenix.
So yes, Dark Phoenix. Dev, how did you feel?
It's the most bland
Bland?
of the entire X-Men franchise. It's the most bland.
Okay.
Like it's got a coherent story. More coherent than the worst of the X-Men franchise.
Okay, yeah.
More coherent than Origins. More coherent than Last Stand. I'd even say it's almost as coherent as Apocalypse, and I'd say it's almost one of the most coherent stories of the X-Men franchise. Story-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it follows its plot through very well. Boy, does it just do that, though.
Yeah, it's not really exciting. It follows its story to the T.
Yeah. That's the best way to put it. It follows its story to a T. Like,
It's just, I think my biggest disappointment was just the tone of the film. Because the beginning of this film starts talking about, like, the delicate balance between political standings with humans and mutants. And then towards the end of the film, it's not about that at all. And the stuff that we do to get there, like, it makes sense. Like, the stuff that we do to get there, to get to that point. Like, it all matches. It's a very, very evenly well put together story, I'd say. But, like, my motivations behind it, the character motivations behind it, whatever's happening on your other screen that's changing colors is very obvious.
is it changing colors?
Yeah, there's greens, yellows, blues. Your face is changing colors, man. Because of that screen. Now you're red. Now it's white. I don't know what you're doing over there.
I'm not doing anything. It's a fucking video over there, okay?
So,
Right.
where was it going with? Like, it was I think my biggest complaint is just like the fact that I liked what the story, like the story beats. I'm getting all mixed up in my own head. I liked the story. It was fine. I, however, thought it was far too similar to X-Men 3: The Last Stand at moments, which because it's pretty much beat for beat the same at times, and then when it's all boiled down to like the big climax, it just, by the time we got there, I wasn't really enticed to stick with it because the character motivations and what they had done didn't feel good, and like it just didn't feel motivated.
You want to know why why you have that issue?
Why is that, Dev?
They don't build up to this.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you exactly how we could fix this issue during spoilers.
Okay.
Um,
I'd love to hear your opinion.
no, and I know the issues with this, and you're gonna hate me for what I compare it to when we get there. But no, and another problem this film does, and I hate it, is that it does the same problem Days of Future Past did with Quicksilver, where they used him in a scene. This one doesn't even use Quicksilver in a scene, though.
No, it like puts him in it for a second.
Yeah! And then he's fucking... And to the fucking spoiler, the major spoiler, which is apparently actually legitimately spoiled in one of the trailers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even know that. I was watching a review this morning of other people's opinions of Dark Phoenix, and then I found out that the trailer has a huge freaking spoiler in it. And like in the film, in the movie, in the moment, I was like, "Oh wow, that's pretty fascinating." But then I felt bad for anyone who had watched the trailers for the movies. This is a moment where I was super happy.
I knew that was coming just based off of the first trailer. The trailer that everyone's seen in the theaters. That doesn't truly spoil what happens, but I was like, oh, okay. So that's gonna happen, just based off of everything that you see. Is very easy to tell where the plot was gonna go. And the other problem I have with it, is, like with the Quicksilver thing, is that like, I get it, he's a little overpowered.
Yes, he is pretty overpowered as Quicksilver, but it's weird. I don't find the way they got rid of him too terrible. Like,
I find it annoying.
Like, yes, the fact that he is his own downfall is the reason he's out of the movie is upsetting, but the way he's dispatched, I don't find a problem.
I do. It's because he's supposed to be, I mean, it's just... They know he's too much of it, like, of a powerhouse that they have to dispatch him.
Yes.
In some way.
That's true, yes.
And it pisses me off, because it's just like, you write yourself into this... You wrote yourself an awesome character who people fucking love to see in this franchise.
Yeah, his scenes are the best scenes in every one of these
films.
Without a doubt! But we don't have one of those scenes in this film.
And it pisses me off! That scene was great in Days of Future Past, and it was great in Apocalypse, and it's just not here. I have a problem with that.
And in this film, we get Scarlet Phoenix.
Shut up. No.
And,
the other problem, too, is the aliens that they have. There's aliens, by the way. I don't know if that's really a spoiler, but, like...
I wasn't gonna say that, but... Yeah, there's alien spoilers, kind of, not really.
In a way, spoilers, but,
yeah.
Like... They're so... But also, Jessica Chastain has said it on their red carpet stuff tour, so... Whatever. It's public information. It's... I mean... When I explain what they're like when we get there, Jesus Christ.
They're dull.
Oh, it's not just they're dull. I'll explain why they're even worse than what you think.
I'll let you tell me, but based on what I know as a storyteller...
Oh, they're dull as fuck.
Yeah, there's nothing to them. They're super one-dimensional. All they care about is one thing, and even that one thing, nothing comes out of it. Like, they're not good threats. They are not good characters. They're just overall kind of just there.
Yes. Good way of putting it. It's... This movie just... It's...
Drops the ball.
Well, yeah, and the problem with it is that it's just there. Like, that's my biggest problem with the film. Like,
it feels...
Even with Origins and Last Stand, which I feel are worse films, like, with their coherence and storytelling, are still more entertaining with what they do. It's just how it is, and it bothers me because, like, I really love the X-Men. All right, I grew up on the animated franchise. All right, and the Dark Phoenix is one of the best parts of it. Motherfucker, you are not paying attention.
I'm listening. Yes.
Um, and it's one of my favorite parts of that series, and it's one of the most well-written parts of the X-Men comics in general. And to see that they've dropped the ball twice
Mm-hmm.
is rough, and the major reason is just build-up. And that's his problem. They essentially, the biggest problem is that they want to just get there. They just want to do the Dark Phoenix arc every time. Because it's a cool arc,
Yeah.
but they just want to dive into it, which you can't do. And I can get into it more once we hit the spoiler section, but it's just that's the thing. It's they just want to dive into Dark Phoenix, and that's just not how that works.
Yeah, and to me, it sucks too, because they dive into Dark Phoenix. They start talking about, like, the ramifications of her losing control of herself and how strong, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But then ultimately, none of that matters. Everything that was building up towards this doesn't matter because the movie just decides to switch gears. And, believe it or not, I found this out, it's part of it because the ending that we got wasn't the original ending.
No. Well, you want to know why?
They had to reshoot it because it was too similar to Captain Marvel.
No.
I know. But they did have to do reshoots for the ending.
It's because Disney bought Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is the reason. Like, as much as I wanted the X-Men to end up in Marvel Studios' hands, because I trust Marvel Studios far more than I have ever trusted Fox with the fucking franchises. Fox has been very much a very hit or miss
Yes.
with their franchises.
Oh, hey. I was kind of right, actually. There's another fucking ad thing that I have to try to get rid of here. But according to an article on a website that I love called Cinema Blend, by a writer called Matt Wood, let me pull it up real fast. News with the view. Here we go. Go away. The Dark Phoenix original ending was changed for being too similar to Civil War and Captain Marvel. The original reshoot and the third act arrived in theaters this weekend. The piece was too similar, and I'm not gonna go too much into why it was too similar until we get into spoilers. But
you just showed everyone why it was too simple.
kind of. Partially. There's words there. But I didn't read them out loud.
I wouldn't say they miss 80% of the time chasing, because
wrong.
what they've
Wrong
done.
screen.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wrong screen. That screen.
6, 7, 8, 9 X-Men films, 2 Deadpool, 3 Fantastic Four. All 3 of the Fantastic Four, 2 of them were very meh. One of them was trash. Both the Deadpools, good.
Didn't they do 4 Fantastic Four? No, they didn't do a sequel to the rebooted Fantastic Four. That's
No, they
right.
didn't. Both Deadpools, good. First 2 X-Men, good. Days of Future Past, good. First Class, good. Origins, meh. Or Origins is garbage, technically. Last Stand, eh.
Meh.
Same with Apocalypse, kind of like, eh.
I love your ratings from meh to eh.
And you got Dark Phoenix, which is
It just, yeah, one would think that this being X-Men's last movie on Fox, they'd
and
go out.
Logan. I forgot about Logan.
Logan was great. Logan was
Logan,
by far the best
fantastic.
film.
And Wolverine's not a terrible film in my opinion.
To me,
My personal opinion.
To me, X-Men was the best film out of, or not X-Men, Logan was the best film out of all of the films.
Oh, without a doubt, that's undeniable. Followed by Deadpool 1.
Followed by Deadpool 1, yeah.
But we also can't deny that this franchise is what created modern superhero films. Without X-Men 1 and 2, we don't have modern comic book films. We don't have Marvel being able to create a 11-year arc and all of us being invested for all 11 years.
Very true, Dev.
So you can blame X-Men for your hatred for superhero films.
Hey, I only got bored of them because there 3 of them a year.
There's more than 3 of them a year.
Now.
But, you know, it depends on what studio you want.
So, I have to say, though, few more things I want to talk about. Michael Fassbender, freaking fantastic. By far, I think, my favorite actor in this film. When it came to what he was doing. Like, the writing in this movie was atrocious. Like, we know 90% of these actors are amazing actors. Michael Fassbender did the best. They did terrible things to Xavier and his character.
I would... Okay, I'm going to argue it, but it's a weird argument. It's... Again, it goes to the building to it, though. He's very much like he is in the later comics in this film, but they don't build to it, so it doesn't feel earned.
Yeah, no. So, well, yeah. It's just out of nowhere, he's kind of a dick in this film.
Sophie Turner turns in a very good performance, in my opinion, and actually, someone credited her and Michael Fassbender with being very good with the effects. Like, it's very tough to make moving objects from a distance look natural.
I'll give you that with Michael Fassbender, yes, but not with Sophie.
Sophie did great!
I mean, most of the time she stood there in one spot and maybe moved her arms a little bit.
She moved, like, her motions with her... She has, in this film, pretty much unlimited power.
Yes.
She doesn't have to move her entire body to move a
No,
fucking
I
planet
understand that. No, but, like, her performance was fine, being that her performance was 5 lines in one look. Like, yes. But otherwise, I thought everything else, like, she was... Based on what she got and how she displayed what she got, sure. But she didn't get much to display, so it looked terrible to me. Like, she was given one look and I can't control myself, was her line, basically. And I thought it was bad.
Well, then you could blame the writing on that.
Yes, I said that.
I know, but I was talking about her performance with moving stuff.
But it's just, I don't think her performance in moving stuff was that much, because her direction was just, you are out of body, you are beyond you, essentially. And her minor movements of how she twists her arm wasn't enough for me. Like,
what do you want her to do?
I don't fucking know.
Flail over?
Michael Fassbender did that, and it looked amazing.
He wasn't flailing. He was stressing his powers to the max. It was supposed to compare that Magneto,
and it looked
the master
amazing.
of magnets,
yes.
probably the strongest mutant at the time, is nothing compared to her.
I'm not arguing that, but the way they portrayed it, like, the way he is portraying his abilities and the way he moves looks really good, especially in that scene when he's fighting. Like, he looks like he's actually exerting himself on something that's not there at all. And I understand that she is supposed to be all-powerful to the point where she's not showing effort. But still, just like, I don't think standing still and barely moving is good acting.
Okay, I'm going to fight you on this scene with one major thing. The entire time that scene's going on and she's just, kind of moving it, you can see her giving into that power more and more. You can see this grin growing on her face. This, like, I am stronger than fucking Magneto look growing over her. This, I am a god right now.
She's great at making faces. Yes, I can give you that.
I mean, I don't know what else you could expect someone to do with, like, the power of moving stuff when they're not the one being stressed. Like,
for some reason, I don't know why, I really enjoyed, like, the psychic fight in Last Stand more. Nothing happened between the two of them other than the room around them started falling apart. And I loved that. I don't know why, but I loved that.
That was such a garbage scene, though.
I know, but me as a person who loves, like, weird things. I thought that was really cool. It's just in this moment, I just don't think that her portrayal of this character was fine. Yes. The writing of this character was god awful, and the way that they directed it to try and make it work didn't work. But I just thought comparing Sophie to Michael Fassbender is a disjustice to what Michael Fassbender is doing. Like, Michael Fassbender is putting on a fucking performance, and Sophie's
doing the best she can with her writing.
True, but
and she's still putting on a good performance, in my opinion. Like, she is giving what this character, like, even though the writing is, like, meh, it's very much still, like, her only... I don't know how to explain this. Like, the only problem I feel like you're having is more that, like... I felt she did a great job. Like, I felt like if it wasn't for some of the things that was just written and what was there, if this was a more well thought out movie...
I'm sure Sophie can do a lot. She's an amazing actress. And what she does with what she has is fine. I'm just saying, like, I don't see her putting on as great of a performance as Michael Fassbender. Sure, that if any other person was playing Jean Grey, this movie would be far worse than what it is. Far, far worse. But I just don't think, like, when people talk about, I'm going to talk about Game of Thrones real fast, and people talk about Bran, they don't say he's a great actor because he just sits there and disassociates with all of his power.
See, I feel like you're missing some of the stuff she was able to do with her character, though. Like I don't know how else to explain it other than some of her movements with what she was moving just felt very natural.
I mean, sure.
Like, I'm trying to say it's very tough to make moving objects.
Yes, it's hard to...
limited power to feel like it's naturally happening.
Yeah, there's always an argument about CG versus practicality because it's hard to imagine what's going to happen when you lift your hand. Yet in the script it says you lift your hand and a mountain explodes. Like, it's hard to imagine that sometimes as an actor or an actress. And Sophie and Michael Fassbender really do good in these scenes.
Yes,
I'll give you that.
That's more what I was trying to convey.
However, I don't think she does a really, really, really good job. I think Michael Fassbender does a really, really, really good job, but I don't think she does. She does fine. It's just, I don't like the minimalistic, barely moving, fairly hollow character that she is at this time. She's all-powerful, yes, and she's dealing with the all-powerfulness, but I just don't like it.
I don't know how else you would convey that power. Like, that felt like the natural way to convey her abilities in this film.
I just don't know. I feel that either way, we have not gotten a good Dark Phoenix.
I'm not saying
we're not going to get it.
Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, and it's just what they've done. I don't think they did it right in this movie.
I agree. I'm not arguing that.
Mm-hmm. So okay, and so if they changed it less about the conflict at the end and more character driven about her and gave her more character development, maybe I would have liked her more. But
okay, and I can explain that issue during the spoilers.
Yes,
okay,
fine. But what we have right now, I don't like. I don't think she did fine, but I don't think she took it to another level.
I think she took it to the best level she could have taken it to.
Okay, and that's fine. We can disagree about that. We don't have to say that we don't both have to agree that she was the best fucking actress ever.
I know. I'm sorry, I want to pick your brain about it, too, alright?
I know, and I'm telling you these things as I'm saying it.
I'm allowed to counter with my points without being considered an asshole.
Okay, let's keep going then.
Jennifer Lawrence tapped out of this film.
Who?
Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, yeah. She didn't even want to be in the film.
I know. She
She
didn't want to be in the last two.
Yeah, there was. I think she had an agreement or something about like she wouldn't be in a film unless the last director from whatever film was working on it. Like, sorry, voice crack there. I read this somewhere, but I don't know where I found it. It was like she had stated that she wanted the director from the very first movie, or else she didn't want to work on the film at all.
Are you talking about well?
Or
He's not the director from the very first
what?
film.
Yeah, whatever she
The
wanted.
one from First Class.
Yes,
Is the producer from that.
she wanted somebody in the movie to be the same person, but
Because no one wanted what's his shit face? The guy who directed the original trilogy.
Yeah.
No one wanted him back.
yes,
She wanted
Jennifer Lawrence wanted.
I think it was Simon Kenberg to come back.
Dark Phoenix, probably.
If that's the story you're going for, because that's who did it.
Let me see. But yeah, let's see. Jennifer Lawrence is ready to walk away. Unless Simon Kinberg directed, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Jennifer,
no, she completely tapped out.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't blame her at all.
and then I thought there was one line in the film that she had that I thought was unwarranted, but whatever. There was Cyclops. He was sad.
There?
He was there. Yes, he was a sad
Where's my
excuse for a
Gene?
character.
There was Storm, who was there,
Inconsistent with her powers throughout this movie.
and there.
And there. We have Beast, who was inconsistent with his character arcs and morals.
Well, understandable given what happens.
Slightly, yes.
We got Dazzler.
Dazzler? Oh, the female? Or...
No, we got Dazzler. She did the light show and the singing.
Oh,
We
her,
got
yes.
Dazzler.
Yes.
Guys, we got Dazzler.
I wanted Jubilee, damn it.
Fuck you, Dazzler was original.
Alright.
We got Jubilee in the last film, who is inexplicably just gone now. So, whatever. Jessica Chastain's character is... a character? Maybe? I don't know if you can consider Jessica Chastain's character a character.
No. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
but no. I haven't got much else to say until we hop into spoilers here. Do you have much you want to talk about? That way we can.
Glad that Marvel does not plan to do an X-Men movie for a bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna be upset when they announce it in 3 years that they're making a movie, but who knows? Maybe we've moved on to bigger and better films by then,
Well,
and we
I
don't
don't
have
see
to
them
worry
making one
about.
for 4 years.
At least,
I see them going through most of Phase 4 without the X-Men. If all of Phase 4 without the X-Men.
yeah, I can see that, especially now because they've already rebooted X-Men once with Fox, so I don't see it really.
And it was a soft reboot that was supposed to connect, which, by the way, they don't connect these to that timeline at all.
Like
Where Days of Future Past ends, there's no way that it ends there at this point. So, that's fun.
one thing that I thought was weird, which don't get me wrong, it's a silly little plot hole, so it doesn't really matter. But Michael Fassbender, isn't he supposed to be like 60 in this movie?
Yep.
Okay.
Same with Xavier.
Yeah, so, okay. Which, by the way, Xavier, why I don't like him, I didn't get Xavier. I got a lot of Split. I got a lot of the Beast. So,
And I'll explain Xavier.
like, I can understand, like, what's happening, and we kind of, oh, whatever. Spoiler time. Popcorn's Do we want to do
I
pop?
gave you 10 popcorn. There you go.
Okay, I have 10 of them. I'm giving this one 6. It was the graphics, the story slightly better. Characters I don't like. Writing was terrible. Meh.
I'm giving this a 5.5.
All right. So they both average out to 5.5.
Well, they both would have averaged out to 6.
Well, I don't give a damn. They're both bad. Spoiler time.
I mean,
5 and 6 is 5.5, and then 5.5 and 6. Is
I gave it a
6.
6.5.
Did you?
Yes.
I only heard it 6, so I apologize. I wasn't paying attention to that part, the half part.
Okay.
We don't care about E3. At least I don't care about E3 at the moment. Everyone in chat, so you guys can have a nice chat about it yourselves. But I'm not going to be addressing that at all.
We're here on the podcast, so.
Yeah, well, this is critically
I mean, I have it
casual.
open on the side in case something pops up that I find interesting, like Keanu Reeves, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's something we'll talk about in movies, in the news. But this is critically casual where we're talking about movies, not E3. Sorry.
But no, personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So, the entire thing, the X-Men problem has been that every arc they want to do, it takes them a movie to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Every major arc,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to the Phoenix series. The major problem with the Dark Phoenix series is that, one, there isn't just the Dark Phoenix story to be told. Hey, there's stuff that happens before and after Dark Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could just build up on that. Is entirely possible. And the other problem, too, is that this franchise is very much of, especially the last, these decade-hopping ones, the other issues we have is that it just doesn't feel like it's kind of developing to where you want to develop, and it takes, there's a 10-year gap that could be interesting to explore.
Oh, yeah.
Like, a problem between First Class and Days of Future Past was that the people who did that said that they wanted to have another film in between those two.
But then the Fox deal happened. Or
No.
started to happen.
No, that wasn't why.
Okay.
The guy who wrote the Days of Future Past and First Class, they liked his Days of Future Past story so much that they did that one next.
Okay.
Instead of doing the story that he wanted in between.
Okay.
There's a problem there. You can see it. It's that the stories are just being pushed to tell the epic stories that are from the X-Men franchise of comics just to tell them. Because the next one after that is Apocalypse.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like they are choosing the bigger stories that they think would make better cinema, better spectacle for the big screen.
Without building up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a problem. Because that's not how you do franchises. I'm going to compare it to a franchise that I know you have issues with.
Go ahead.
But it does tell a coherent story through multiple films and builds upon what they've established without forcing things in there.
Okay.
The Monsterverse.
Okay.
I'm going to coin it.
You're gonna call the
The Kaiju verse.
yeah. I like Monsterverse better. Like, don't get me wrong, Kaiju sounds a lot cooler, and that's what they are. But Monsterverse sounds better for some reason.
That's fair. Has built up each of their films to tell an individual story while also building up a longer story overall.
No, I'll agree with you. Like, yes, 100%. That's what those films have done. Like, if this movie was left off where the last movie started where the last movie left off, that's what I was trying to get. Like, we'd have a completely different film. We'd probably have another Days of Future Past, almost. With similar, like, but not quite, Like,
there's also the fact that the end of Apocalypse ended with the Phoenix showing up.
also, yeah, and then
they completely ignore that.
for 10 years.
and just let I just I
I think the way they explained it in this film was like the Phoenix showed up before, and makes sense. Whatever, it doesn't really, but and the cosmic solar flare that gave her her power was what unlocked the Phoenix permanently. Was I think what they were trying to go for.
but they don't convey that.
Not really. Like they say something like Charles says something along the lines of I blocked her powers and what happened in space unblocked them or I think. But at the same time it's also showing
They
like
amplified her genetic code.
yeah, it's like that solar flare is supposed to be the Phoenix Force, I think is what it was supposed to be. But
Yes.
also not at the same time because she already is the Phoenix. But
Yes.
it's weird because if the Phoenix Force is supposed to be inside her already, why did her powers suddenly look like that spectral entity? So it's just not coherent storytelling between movies.
No. And that's probably its biggest problem. Is that this franchise just hasn't told a coherent story in a long time, like a coherent thread through its films. The other thing is that we get the scroll.
They're actually Skrull?
No,
Okay. What are they actually called? Do you know that at all?
Dabari
The Bari.
or
Okay.
Babari, something like that. Hold on.
They're Are they shapeshifters or do they possess?
They're shapeshifters, but in the comics they're not shapeshifters. So they combine two alien species to create this version of them. All right.
Okay.
The Babari, whatever the fuck they are supposed to be asparagus-looking motherfuckers. Okay, and their planet gets destroyed when Jean Grey eats their son.
Okay.
Vok is supposed to be a survivor out for revenge. Okay,
Yeah, that's.
and he
kind
runs
of
into
what
a group
happens.
of other people who are shape-shifting creatures that are hiding from the Skrull because the Skrull feel like they're stealing their cool thing that they do.
The Kree?
No, the other shape-shifting creatures that Vok runs into, who's a Babari,
Mm-hmm.
they are on the run and refugees because the Skrulls are killing them off because they can shapeshift.
Okay.
The Skrulls feel like that is infringing on their cool thing.
Okay.
They combined the Bari with the shapeshifters in this film because they look like weird tree. They look like the science aliens just with bark.
They looked like
And-
me. They looked like a weird combination of Groot plus like
Science
the.
aliens.
Oh, not quite. Almost. They almost looked like they were trying to copy the monsters from Avengers Endgame. The the black monsters.
Outriders.
Almost, kind of like they looked like Groot mixed with the Outriders to me, I guess.
I wouldn't personally. I don't see the Outrider in it because Outrider's like 4 arms and bulky motherfuckers. These guys are twigs.
Like I thought they were skinny like twigs, but they looked fleshy and sacky and like.
For me, they look barky and plant-based.
Okay.
Which is what they were going for because that's what the Bari are. But they just gave them shape-shifting abilities, and they're essentially Skrulls. Because apparently they can read minds too.
At least kind of. Not really.
They can, because how else do they get the information they need?
That's why I was confused if they were mind readers or if they were like possessors. Because
They take your form and then your memories when they kill you.
I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
like they don't really establish what the characters do because, like, I don't know. The only thing that we can see that they do is they can twist people's insides, and they can shapeshift.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, they are very one-dimensional. We need the Phoenix Force. We're gonna recreate this planet.
which
'Cause the Phoenix Force destroyed our planet.
they're also inconsistent with like their immunity because they're partially bullet immune. Like they can take small caliber rounds, but as soon as they get blown to pieces by a large caliber round, it's fine.
Well, it's when you hit them with a smaller round, less firepower machine gun, their healing factor outpowers it, but you can outpower their healing factor with using like a legitimately mounted machine gun.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like that's how they established that it's like there's a line that like they can't quite heal past.
Yeah, that's kind of what they show because like they show them getting shot at and their body breaking up a little bit, but then they get up until the machine gun that's mounted wrecks through them.
Or helicopter machine guns.
Hmm. But then still, it's just seems off to me. Like, we need a bigger gun. That's the solution.
I mean, why not?
And my big like the whole thing that just bugs me is that the beginning of this film is all about Jean Grey and her like she goes all powerful, and because she becomes all powerful, the connection between humans and mutants becomes straight again. And like that's the beginning arc of this film, like the first act. The second act is Jean Grey like this is now her story once again. And it's her going from place to place, trying to figure out where she can be accepted so she can figure out how to control herself, and all that falls through. And then the third act is about our world being in danger from these aliens destroying it. Like,
And I'll say this: it's somewhat more coherent than Last Stand,
true, but, like,
which is surprising.
it's weird because there's these weird moments in time where we have to debate like what's good and what's bad, what's good and what's bad when it comes to subversion and diversion of expectations. And like there are some movies when they set up one storyline but then drop it halfway through for another one where it makes sense. But this one I don't feel it earns that because it just quickly transitions through she's all powerful, she's causing problems, to we need to kill her, to she's saving the entire planet. Within, of course, it's a 2-hour film. I'm overestimating 2 hours, but it just it while it connects ABC, it all kind of connects the tone and what's happening just doesn't feel right to me. Like I feel I would have liked this movie better if it was at the end of it all. It wasn't these aliens are trying to destroy the Earth, and it was us mutants against the humans who are trying to kill us, or something like that. Because I really like the politics and the world building behind that stuff. I really liked how they tell stories of inequality with X-Men, and they just kind of don't in the films.
Fair. It's I can't counter some of that. It's just the way the franchise is, though. Like they're gonna walk the line and never go past it. It's just how they've always been, which is just a disservice to X-Men as well.
Like X-Men the last yeah, go ahead.
X-Men comics are very much able to cross that line, be like, hey, this is what's these are real stories that we're gonna tell.
And I
So
love
it always feels like a disservice to that
Mm-hmm.
franchise. So I don't know. It's just how I feel, though. So
Yeah, the X-Men's franchise in comic book form is more character driven, and this is more event driven. Like the movies are more spectacle and event driven, which once again, this is a problem we keep finding with recent movies. It's just we want what the character does and what happened to them, like make more of a difference to what's happening in the film.
well, I think one of our major promises with stuff is that we just would like our films like if you're gonna tell an individual story, right?
Tell the
Tell that
individual story.
Yeah. If you're gonna connect it to a universe, still tell that individual story, do it well, and then worry about your plot threads. Because like one of the problems this film has too is that it's supposed to wrap up a arc of films that's been going on for almost 20 fucking years.
Yes. And
The X-Men franchise is one of those franchises that like is why we're in modern cinema now. Like it saved us from the era that superhero films are garbage.
Okay, I can give you that, sure.
So you would want them to close out on something great.
And they don't really.
No, and it sucks.
There's not even like an end credit scene, big send off either. There's nothing. It's just the film ends and that's it.
Also, I don't know how they could have done a real end credit scene. There's no other film after this. I mean, yeah, there's New Mutants. Cool.
I mean, it doesn't have to, like it doesn't have to be something that's like an alluding to another film or anything like that. But it could just be something subtle, like what if instead of at the end of the film where Xavier's retired from being a teacher because he feel like he's ruined everything, which to me also kind of a weird arc, but
okay, I need to explain Xavier at some point, don't I?
So let me explain why I don't like Xavier, and then you could tell me why it makes sense with whatever comic book arc.
Well, I'm not saying it makes sense.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to tell you that right now.
Okay. So like when I watched this movie and all their times before this, even like in the beginning of this film, Xavier's set up as a person who's trying to be helpful and nice, and try to make it so the humans and mutants can live in peace together. But somewhere along the line, within this 10-year gap, that has changed. And, like, he's still trying to make it so humans and mutants can live together, but now it's like the humans, or the mutants are there just to protect the humans. And, like, they don't have a choice of if they can go to do something or not. Like, they're superpowered, so they have the responsibility to do superpowered things. When all most of these mutants want is to just live their own life in safety. But Xavier's just been like, I'm going to manipulate these children. I'm going to change people's minds. I'm going to kind of not explain anything to you because I'm Xavier and I can do what I want. And then, it also kind of makes sense because he can read everybody's minds and he can, in most instances, outthink people. It just doesn't seem warranted with it because he was a humbled man when he lost his ability to walk. And now he's just an egotistical asshole.
Part of it can be explained a little bit with his episode in Apocalypse. What he dealt with there.
Towards the end?
Yeah, because he had to deal with being in Apocalypse's head. So that can explain a little bit of it. But personal opinion. There's some major issues with the fact that they tried to give you the Xavier that is... So, without building to it, Xavier in the comics... Well, they build to it, but the Xavier behind the comics has always been pulling strings.
Mm-hmm.
And in ways that really he shouldn't be doing. Because when he does it, it's usually going to end up terribly. He killed his sister while they were in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. His son, he put into a goddamn fucking comatose state to kind of keep him from becoming Legion. His son is Legion, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the fact that he created the X-Force to do the dirty work that he didn't want the X-Men to do.
Yeah, because the X-Men had to be a symbol.
Exactly. And it's just... they start building... And he also is a member of the Illuminati. Forgot about that.
Oh, I didn't know that one, actually.
Yeah, he was part of the Marvel Illuminati.
Oh.
With Namor, Black Panther, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic.
That's fun.
Sure. And he's part of the reason why Cyclops becomes an even bigger dick in the comics. Because Xavier hides a lot of shit and Scott just gets tired of it. And eventually Scott gets the Phoenix Force in him and just...
Oh, I've heard about that one.
Through him and he obliterates the professor. I think the professor's back now in some convoluted way. Because he's also he's kept bodies in comatose so he could transfer his fucking mind to them.
Yeah, that was something that they explained a little bit in X-Men 3. It's that, but I know they do that in the comics, is that one of Xavier's powers is that his mind is his body, and he could transfer his mind to other people. That's just how psychic That's how powerful his psychic abilities are.
Yes.
So
It's still very much a he's very morally gray, but he believes he believes he's lawful good, but he's lawful neutral, without a doubt. Um, he's very much a lawful neutral character.
like in this,
As long as it's for the betterment of the mutant kind, he believes he's doing the right thing. Which is why him and Magneto are very similar characters.
I love the similarities. I love the dynamic between Magneto and Xavier. It's one of my favorite things, especially because I know just little tiny bit of lore. It's just that these people are best friends that have very similar points of views. It's just that there's one thing really that they can't agree on, and that's why they're on opposite sides.
Well, they're if you're comparing them like mutant rights to civil rights, it's Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. That's who they are supposed to represent in their own way.
So I love the dynamic between them. I really do. Like, that's one thing that I definitely noticed in this film is that because I like the struggle that these two best friends are supposed to be having with each other. I felt more sympathy in the very end of this film. I was like, oh, that's nice. That feels good. But I know it was unwarranted because they don't really establish why that Xavier deserves the somewhat okay ending that he gets.
Well, and the other problem, too, is they do all of this stuff in one film. That the Xavier kind of going towards his... Xavier does have a tendency to go into his ego.
Yes.
In the comic.
Like, we kind of see it a little bit the first time we get to see... why am I forgetting the actor's name?
James McAvoy?
Yes. When we get to see him play Xavier the first time when he's young and walking and all that stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
He does have the ego, and you can tell. But he's supposed to have changed once he lost his ability to walk.
Well, my thing about it is that for him, it's that he went from being like extremely like hurt after all of that, and that's why he starts taking that medication that doesn't undo psychic abilities.
No powers, but lets him walk.
Because he wanted to give up on it. Then Days of Future Past happens. He starts to become a professor for mutants again, and he's a humbled teacher at this point. And then Days of Future Past happened, and he's like, all right, the X-Men need to exist. Because, like, throughout this entire time, mind you, he's had 3 times to create the X-Men. And he's denied it. Because he didn't want to.
Yeah, he just wanted to teach the kids how to control themselves so
No,
they could fit in.
He didn't want to... He didn't. The first movie, he didn't want to teach. Sure. He wanted to get with Moira. Things don't work out, he wants to defend mutants. But he also wants to give up on teaching mutants. Days of Future Past happens, he's like, alright, maybe I can teach mutants. And Hank's building this super jet, and he's like, don't worry about building that, we're not going to create the X... And the X-Men aren't going to be needed. And then Apocalypse happens. Guess what's needed?
A super jet.
Fucking X-Men. And thus, the X-Men are born. And that's why we're here. With the very uniformed look for the X-Men, which... I mean, is a callback to, like, but they've already done it in First Class with this kind of uniform.
Yeah.
And they ended Apocalypse with cool uniforms that are individualized and look like their styles from the comics, and it looks cool!
But I think that's part of the thing here. The costumes change is due to Xavier's dynamic change, the way he's treating these people.
Yes, and I agree. But it's unearned.
Yes.
You didn't build to it. Like, you gave small little ego things in the first film. Small. Like, minute ego things. And then you give him this, like, I'm in control of everything. I can make sure that human mutant things are really good. And it just seems meh. It's the best way to put it.
Okay, so, one thing that I thought was weird towards the very end of this film is I thought, imagery-wise, I thought Dark Phoenix did actually look a lot like Scarlet Witch, but um, I'm not sure if that's just like a particle effect that they used on her magic that made it look that way. But
They both have cosmically impossible powers.
maybe, and like the way their outfits too, like in the end of the film she's wearing the long coat that's kind of reddish, that's a storm jacket with the short top or whatever, and like when she lands it looks the exact same as when Wanda lands. I don't know, it just looked too similar to
I
me.
can see it.
But it's not like a real complaint I have, it's just something I wanted to
I
bring
can
up.
see it's a comparison you can make. And I can't deny that comparison. It's what you see. So
It's let's see, is there anything else major that I wanted to talk about? Of course there was like the death that happened with Mystique.
Jesus Christ.
um I'm not sure how I feel about that scene at all. Like, it makes sense, but it doesn't. It's motivated, but it isn't. I don't know.
It's an accident.
Yeah. But it could have been handled at the same time. Like, I understand the approach of, like, letting somebody you love talk them down and, like, letting that happen. But it's, I don't know, something about the events doesn't sit right with me.
Again, it's not built to correctly.
Yeah.
Because Xavier freezes everyone for a moment to give Mystique this chance, okay? Problem with this is that we already know her powers are about to fucking surge out of control.
Because she has a trigger word for some reason in the beginning of the film.
I don't think she has a trigger word. She has a trigger moment. I don't know. It's a sad note for this franchise to go out on.
Yeah,
Overall.
I thought they'd do at least a little bit better. Just a tiny bit.
It's hopeful. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. I'm just sad now. Like, this is the franchise that, like, after watching X-Men the show, got me really into watching movies again.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Still a character that they need to get right. Gambit. Wasn't even in this film.
Quicksilver.
Yeah. Like, okay, so my...
No, I'm gonna say this. I don't think Quicksilver's done wrong.
No. He was done dirty.
He's done dirty again.
Like, in this, I liked, like, the fact that he's so powerful and that he could have essentially have stopped her right then and there. And how that they needed to get rid of him, sure. That's
I don't
crappy.
see that he would have been able to stop her, okay? She proved that.
Yeah,
So, you could still utilize him in the rest of the film.
at least some way, yeah. Like, if he
you
was...
could use him.
Yeah.
Like, even if you replace, let's say, Storm switches sides with Beast, okay?
Okay.
Because, you know, in X-Men Apocalypse, Mystique is her hero.
Oh, I figured out why they couldn't.
Why?
The hug when they transfer powers. They had to make that a conflict somehow. And if they could have a superpowered person just show up and separate them.
He would get dissolved getting too close. They showed that. He wouldn't do that.
Either way.
He would have still stopped him as well.
So, at that point in time, that's debatable because she's kind of switching her mindset on everything. Like,
what I'm trying to say is that get rid of one of the two characters who just gets killed off pointlessly that are on Magneto's side, because there are two mutants that he has.
Hair Man and then Tracker Girl with knives.
Yes. Which are they supposed to be the same character?
I think she's supposed to be the same character, but I don't think he is.
I don't know who he's supposed to be.
Yeah, I have no idea. Hair Man. as I've dubbed them, Scorpion Hair
Oh, okay.
Man.
I can look them up real quick because I have their names.
Mystique,
Um,
Xavier.
X-Men.
Match? No.
No. Arcturus?
Newsacre, Brazilian kid, shuttle not stupid, mutant
Um,
student. Mutant student? That's really a name? Alright. I mean, it's obviously an extra role, but. Ariki? No.
Yeah, that's Ariki. He's the hair dude.
Okay.
Um, I'm just trying to find his character, what he is in the comics. I'm finding a bunch of comics that have. Okay, maybe he's a callback to a comic book writer? I'm not finding an actual X-Men who. Okay, no, he's a callback to someone who I think wrote for it. I don't know, there's nothing for him. Alright.
Huh.
The best I can come up with is that his name is a tribute to an X-Men writer in the comics. And Selene is a fictional supervillain appearing in American comics. She's a mutant and an enemy of the X-Men, often associated with the Hellfire Club. So that's why they brought her in, because she's part of the Hellfire Club.
Mm-hmm.
I'm scrolling down. Give me a second. No, it's not the same character.
It's not?
Nope. But apparently her character, a character in Underworld, is based off of her.
What do you mean?
The character of Selene in Underworld movie was based off of the character Selene in Marvel Comics.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah,
I was trying to look around for other things. Like, I'm looking at, like, lists of all known heroes of X-Men, and it's just too much.
Yeah, you're not looking for heroes as part of the problem. You're looking for villains.
Oh, also, so, did you actually read the quote from the why it was too similar to the original shooting? Or no?
No? How would I have read it?
I'm just asking. I don't know. You said that I showed it to everybody, so I assumed.
Yeah, I didn't have us full screened on my other screen. Sorry.
Sorry. I'm trying to read the quote and see if it's actually relevant.
If you're not finding anything, I don't think it's relevant. I don't think it's really worth it.
It's not like a specific moment was too similar. It's saying that it's like just the overall feel was too similar. Where like it says here that the original battle was supposed to be like an ending space battle. So that's why it was a little too similar to Captain Marvel.
That would have been cool.
And it's also saying that like the overall tone and feel was too similar, with it ending with like a big fight, and it just like I don't know. It just said it was too. The big fight scene was either too similar to Captain Marvel in its tone and feel in space, or it was too similar to Captain America with the end fight between the three interested parties. So they changed it with reshoots. Okay. Meh. Alright, is there anything else we want to talk about this film? Oh! What did you feel about the design? Like, when she starts to crack apart. Was that a good idea to, like, show the power, or was that a bad?
I mean, I can't think of many other ways to show it.
I get you. Like, I don't know. with her cracking apart as she used it, it only makes sense if it's like bursting out of her, and it makes sense because at times she says I can't control it, but I don't know what.
I also feel like you just don't like how her character was written at all, so or designed at all, so
There's like it makes sense that when she's using this ability, she's cracking apart, but yeah, I don't really like her character in this. You're not wrong.
I know I'm not wrong.
But I love the effects. I thought they for the most part were nice looking. I thought the action was okay. It's inconsistent. I don't know. I haven't got much else to say at this point. I'm just trying
I thought the action was kind of boring, honestly.
I can appreciate that. Like the ending train scene, I thought that one was cool. But like the fight between the two groups outside of like on the street, I thought that was boring. I
even thought the train scene was boring.
Did you?
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, it had some creative moments, but like beyond that, it was just still very much a endless waves of aliens.
Oh, also true. Yeah. Until she melts them all and then melts herself and protects Earth. I don't know. She's not protecting.
The Phoenix Force in the goddamn fucking sky. God,
yeah.
I hate that. I hate
Yeah, that's something I thought was stupid. That it ended with the Phoenix Force flying through the air. I was like, oh, are you... She's not dead. She's still alive. As a cosmic superpower.
Pisses me off. I'm not gonna lie. It pisses me off. I don't know.
So, is that it? Have we gotten everything off our chest?
Marvel, let it cool down, and then make it good again.
Okay. Make it good again.
Give us a good story. Give us some new X-Men.
You should run for president and have your campaign be Make X-Men Great Again.
Shut up.
Alright, we're moving on over to the news.
This week I got one thing. Apparently, it's a big deal. Marvel dropped below... on Monday, dropped below 1 million for the first day on sales. I still feel like it's gonna beat Avatar. It's within, like, you know, that 10 million mark.
Oh, yeah.
So
I was actually a little upset because, you know, Father's Day is coming up soon. And my dad likes the Marvel movies, so my thought was, hey, maybe I should get him Endgame when it comes out. And then it took me a moment to realize, hey, Endgame's still in theaters. It's not gonna be out on DVD for way too long.
yeah, it's gonna be out in like
August.
years. I know, but
yeah. So, but hey, go watch Endgame in theaters while you still can. You're running out of time. My theater only has 5 showings for it now.
oh no.
Right? 5 different times a day when you can go see it in my theater. Still. Wow. Okay. One little bit of news. I actually had something that I want to talk about. We could also talk about Keanu Reeves real fast if they said anything really fascinating in E3.
I mean, just that, you know, he's in Cyberpunk, so.
Wasn't that Cyberpunk 20? Wasn't that the Rooster Teeth game or?
No.
No, I remember. Never mind. I'm dumb. Never mind. I remember. That's cool.
So.
At least there's
right now they're going over new Halo stuff, so.
Oh,
they're actually showing footage from the game, so that's cool.
Okay. There's only.
And they also unveiled Scarlet, so that's their Xbox Scarlet.
Oh, they're like next system or whatever.
Yep.
The one news that I had that I kind of wanted to talk about, which I'm really excited for, but also not at the same time. You know what the Russo brothers are working on next, right?
Magic.
Yeah, Magic the Gathering for Netflix. They're making an original. Go ahead.
I'm down.
I am both super excited for it because I want to see it. I want to see what they're going to do with the Planeswalkers. I'm only going to be slightly disappointed if somehow, like my D&D campaign that I came up using Magic the Gathering is in there somehow in their show.
Well, one of the things is that Magic the Gathering has deserved a show for years.
But it depends. Like all of their trading card games have good quote unquote have good shows. They have shows, but they're kid shows for a kid's card game. This is an adult's card game, so it's hard to make a show for that.
I will argue that with there's so much goddamn lore to Magic
Each realm.
that you could make 6 goddamn shows.
So I think what they're doing, based on like little hints that I've read, I don't have an article to pull up, sadly, but based on hints that I've read, it seems like they're doing kind of like the War for the Spark, but as an animated series, where they're talking about a conflict between planeswalkers that's too big for one plane. And I'm like, huh. So they're gonna go to like Ravnica and Zendikar and Kaladesh and all of those awesome places. Is that gonna be a thing?
I mean, why not?
So
I'm down.
I'm down too, but don't make it too similar to my D&D campaign, or else I'm gonna sue Russo Brothers.
I don't know if that's how that works.
I don't think that's how that works either. All right. Only other thing that I have to talk about is next month or next week. So next week, at least these films are hopefully going to be funny.
Oh, I expect us to have a little bit more fun.
Yes. Next week, for those of you who don't know, it's R.I.P.D. A little like mock spin-off based and inspired by, not based, but inspired by Men in Black. And then,
Well, it's also a comic, I believe.
also true, yeah. And then,
Like Men in Black was.
yeah, and then Men in Black International.
You know, as long as no one says,
I'm the juggernaut, bitch!
I think we're fine. There's my rule of 3.
Yeah, it's funny. Third time's fine.
It'd be a real pain if I started just doing.
I'm the juggernaut, bitch!
You know what, Dev? I'm disappointed in you. You're so focused on I'm the Juggernaut, you never hit the spoiler button.
Fuck you!
Let's get ready to spoiler!
You're supposed to remind me.
Next time, I guess. It's not like we do this show every week or anything.
Nope.
So yeah, next week, R.I.P.D. and Men in Black International. I'm excited to see Thor and Valkyrie fight some aliens. Wait,
Yep.
that seems familiar.
Shut up. We're making that joke in the movie. Fuck off.
I know. Okay. Anything else you want to say or do, or are we done here, Dev?
I don't think I have anything else. So.
Alright, so I guess it's time for the follow us on Twitch and Twitter. Subscribe, like, comment on YouTube.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. And also make sure to hit that heart up above us on Twitch. And while you're at it, you can hit that follow button for us over on Twitter.
Are there enough buttons? We need more buttons.
Shut up. There's too many fucking buttons.
Alright.
Do what you feel is best.
Alright. Join us on Sundays, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for this show on Twitch. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesdays for Third Player Optional with Caver J and Torn. And then we have the Har Har podcast with our lovely Dorky Dev here as the host. And whoever he can manage to bring on. Which, some weeks, is fucking hilarious. The people that you find that I've never even heard of sometimes are funny people. Alright, and then that's it from us. We'll see you guys next Sunday with R.I.P.D. and Men in Black International. But until then, bye everyone!
Later.
Oh, wrong button. Now it's goodbye.
I'm the juggernaut, bitch!
I don't think that made it in.
Damn it.